Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Not Your Mother's podcast. As if you're one of our very few listeners, I'm sure you've noticed that we took a bit of a hiatus there. We were off for about a month, and it wasn't planned. A lot of stuff came up, and we actually had an episode during that hiatus that was supposed to be aired, but we had some technical difficulties with the audio, and we ended up just scrapping the whole episode instead of trying to redo it and having it seem forced, which was really unfortunate because that episode was all about reboots and remakes of TV shows and movies. And I'm sure we'll get back to that conversation some other episode down the road. But for now, that episode is unavailable. In the meantime, though, I have another great episode for you. I was about to say we, but as I'm sure you noticed, I'm the only one speaking here on this podcast episode. And it's because for the foreseeable future, I'll probably be soloing the podcast for most of the episodes. I'll bring Nick back on as often as I can because I love having that back and forth with him. But our schedules aren't like meshing right now. So I've decided to just continue it solo in the meantime, and then any opportunity that we can pair up and do it again together as it originally was intended. But you didn't come to hear about that. You come to hear about a bunch of geeky stuff. And while I was the self-proclaimed lesser geek, I will try to fill Nick's gap in the meantime. And that brings me to the topic of today's episode, which is children's shows. Now, you might be thinking either A, that's not really nerdy at all, or B, that sounds boring as fuck. And you know what? I can't blame you for thinking those two things, because they're kind of true. But I'm going to take a topic that you might think is boring as fuck, and I'm going to try to make it interesting. And so let's just jump into it by saying the reason why this topic is on the top of my mind is because somewhat recently, I think it was like a week or so ago, I found out that SpongeBob SquarePants was finally ending. And I say finally, when I say finally, it makes it sound like I was looking forward to an ending, which I definitely wasn't. Because I will defend SpongeBob SquarePants until the day I die. That was a fantastic children's show with just amazing jokes thrown in there that only older audiences would get to. So if you were one of the parents or babysitters or older siblings, etc., that was forced to sit and watch children's shows with the younger kids, that if you had SpongeBob SquarePants on, you weren't dying of boredom because there were some things that only you as an older person would get. That's what I feel makes a children's show amazing. That and a few other things which I'll talk about. But anyways, back to SpongeBob SquarePants. When I heard that it was ending, it was kind of a sad moment. I hadn't watched the show in years. I feel like I could go back and enjoy it just as much or close to just as much now as an adult if I went back and watched the old episodes. But I hadn't, because obviously, given the chance between watching new adult shows and new kids cartoon shows, I'm going to take the adult shows. But that doesn't mean that I didn't think SpongeBob deserved to go on however many season run it did. Like, that was just, it lasted for an insanely long time. Like, it wasn't a new show when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I think it had already been 5, 6, maybe even 7 seasons in when I started watching it at I want to say it was 8, maybe. Actually, probably younger, probably about 6 when I first started watching SpongeBob SquarePants. So to go on that long of a run is just incredible, I think. Let me clarify that. To go on that long of a run and not be a completely shit show is amazing. Because anyone can take a show and just run with it forever and have it not turn into complete shit. It's hard to maintain a level of quality, though, for that many seasons. which, again, I didn't watch a lot of the newer episodes, so I don't know if it did maintain that, but I feel like it kind of did. Unlike some things which, like another cartoon that comes to mind, which has been on forever, that I know personally hasn't maintained its quality, is Family Guy. I love Family Guy. I still watch every new episode every week. But I'll be the first to admit it's not as good now as it was 10 years ago. It's just not. It's still good. It's not nearly as good, though. But as far as I can tell, SpongeBob maintained a quality that a fairly consistent quality, and that's just amazing in my perspective. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is I feel like might be just a generation thing, and let me know if that's what you guys think it is. But I feel like, because I have a little sister who's quite younger than me, so not too long ago, I've had to endure watching the children's shows, but a bunch of children's shows. And I just feel like children's shows nowadays are just complete shit compared to what we grew up with. We grew up with amazing, like the hits, like Scooby-Doo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the previously mentioned SpongeBob SquarePants, Winnie the Pooh. Like, we just had amazing cartoons and children's shows to watch. Whereas nowadays, they just have like completely like crap. It's just awful. Like Tupi and Binu, whatever the fuck that is. Oh my god, I hated having to sit through that. And not that we didn't have our shit shows as children, because God knows we did. Oh, like that everyone's favorite children's punching bag, Caillou. That's from my generation. So that's an old ass show, and it was complete shit. I didn't even watch it as a kid. And I mean, can you blame me though? If you're gonna watch a children's show, I feel like this is what the TV from my generation nailed, is that if you're gonna watch a children's show, especially as a child, I don't think you want to watch a show about a child. You want to watch a show about like cool monsters, or like in the case of Scooby-Doo, I was going to say in the case of Scooby-Doo, but Scooby-Doo does deal with cool monsters. That's literally their entire premise. But they also deal with, like, it's the premise of cool adults doing cool jobs. Nobody wants to watch a show about a kid, a normal ass kid, which is what Caillou was. He was just a normal bratty kid, and it was just about his daily life. How fucking boring is that? Like, that's just insane to me that someone thought that was a good idea. Here's an example of a children's show that's about a kid, a normal kid, no superpowers, but it was incredibly popular, and I believe still is incredibly popular, but I could be wrong about this. I'm a fucking 24-year-old adult. What do I know about children's shows, really? Is Dora the Explorer. But the thing is with Dora is that she is a normal kid. Normal in air quotes. Normal in the sense that she doesn't have any powers. She's not in a magical world. Kind of is, kind of isn't. But she goes on like cool adventures and deals with these animals like that normal people, especially normal children, would never have access to. That's what makes her entertaining. But I digress. I'll stop shitting on Caillou, even though it's just a god-awful fucking show. The thing about children's shows is, why do they exist anymore? Like, why are they still making new children's shows? And it's not because I don't think they can live up to the potential of our shows. It's because I don't get why adults sit down with children and watch these awful shows that they hate. The child isn't even comprehending what they're watching. Obviously, this is for younger children. Like, if you're watching with, like, anyone, I'd say any child over the age of 6, maybe even 5, I'd say they definitely comprehend what they're watching, and they're going to want to watch what they want to watch. So, yeah, watching children's shows with them, That's understandable because they know the difference. But when you're watching children's shows, like all these, I see most of these adults watching children's shows with like 2-year-olds. Why? Why are you putting yourself through that? They have no idea what they're watching. None whatsoever. You could put on an episode of the fucking Sopranos. They wouldn't know the difference. All they see is shapes and colors and hear words coming at them. They have no idea what any of it means. And if you're worried about like the subtle influences that they're picking up from the shows, I can promise you, they're not picking up jack fucking shit. I can promise you that. And obviously, as a journalism major with absolutely zero experience with psychology, you can take my word for this. But like when I don't have any children. So of course I'm sitting here being the jackass who's talking about parenting with zero experience with parenting. I did babysit my sister growing up I was probably her babysitter for about 5 years, I'd say. So I have experience dealing with children. I just don't have experience with parenting myself. But I don't think I need experience parenting to know that when I become a parent, there is no fucking way that I am sitting down on the couch with my 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3 or even 4-year-old. No fucking way I'm sitting down on the couch with them and putting on an episode of fucking whatever the fuck they are watching now that in the future for children's shows. Fucking who knows what it'll be, but I guarantee you it won't be good. And I will not, and there's not enough money in the world to pay me to watch that shit. I'm gonna sit down, grab the remote, and turn on whatever the fuck I feel like watching. And guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna sit there and watch it with me because they don't know the fucking difference. And it's entertaining to them regardless of what it is. I could put on fucking Bob Ross paintings, videos, and they'd be fucking enthralled with it. They'd have no issue whatsoever. So why are the parents putting themselves through this? You guys are fucking insane. I am convinced that 50% of all mental breakdowns are a result of too much exposure to children's shows. That is a fact. I have just declared it on the internet, therefore it is 100% true. And I'm just at a loss for words when it comes to this stuff. Anyways, I have more on the topic of children's shows. By the way, some children's shows that are also, I feel like are underrated. Because like the ones I mentioned before, Scooby-Doo, Winnie the Pooh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, those shows are like the top ones that everyone always goes to when they're talking about the amazing children's shows. Examples of amazing children's shows. Those are the low-hanging fruit. They're always the first ones that get picked. I feel like we had a lot of underrated shows that were like amazing when we were kids too, though. So I want to quick shout out to those before we end this episode, such as like Danny Phantom, Jimmy Neutron, Fairly Fucking Odd Parents. That shit was the bomb. I will sit down right now. You know what? After this episode's done, I think I'm gonna fucking go watch an episode of that because Fairly Odd Parents was a phenomenal fucking show. Phenomenal, and I will say that till the day I fucking die. But anyways, there's more, but I won't get into it because I want to stick to this new 15-minute format. Except when Nick comes back on, we'll probably stick to the 30-minute when it's an episode with Nick because the debates take up a lot more room than just a solo person talking to a microphone. By the way, that's the good thing about doing this solo is that now I have an excuse to talk to myself and not seem like a complete fucking insane person. Well, maybe I do, but whatever. I'm just going to ignore that because that opens up a whole fucking floodgate of issues. So, before I get into that, let me just end the episode now and say that until next time, I guess I'll go watch some fucking Fairly Odd Parents. Bye.